Open battle raging between Sabbatean Cabal and military-industrial complex. Posted by Benjamin. June 11, 2013. The recent cabal-controlled corporate media frenzy of disclosure about things like NSA eavesdropping, politically targeted IRS tax investigations and the Bilderberg meeting are signs of full-blown panic. All these disclosures seem to be timed to distract public attention from last week's Pentagon and U.S. agency-supported Love Fest summit meeting between U.S. President Barack Obama and Chinese leader Xi Jinping. The erupting trade war between Europe and China and the posse of economic hitmen trying to ruin Japan's economy are also signs of an intensifying battle over control of the world's financial system and thus the future of our species. The attacks on Japan's economy are motivated by the fact the Abe government just announced $32 billion in economic assistance for Africa and assigned Japan is no longer handing its foreign currency to the cabal in order to finance Zionist wars. They are also motivated by the fact that Japan's government has just begun to do the obvious and eliminate its 200% GDP debt with the stroke of a pen. Well-known mainstream economist Jeffrey Sachs last week admitted to this writer, at a Japan Foreign Correspondents Club press conference, that there was no theoretical reason why Japan's government could not just print yen, buy up all the outstanding Japanese government bonds and put them in the garbage. Sachs, who heads the Earth Institute at Columbia University, was also very enthusiastic about the big Japanese plans to modernize Africa, saying they were very concrete, detailed and realistic. Of course, the corporate propaganda media representatives, or more likely their bosses, did not want to let the world know that Japan's government had made a decision to break free from Sabbatean debt slavery. Unlike tiny Iceland, Japan is the world's third largest economy and its biggest creditor nation. Its breaking of ranks with the G7 debt slavery cabal is truly historical. The other big move in Asia that was underreported was the resumption of negotiations between North Korea, Japan and South Korea. The goal supported by all parties, including China, Russia and the Pentagon, is regional peace. To this end, North Korean authorities are rumored to have told the Japanese government they are willing to return over 30 kidnap victims, the remains of over 50 Japanese and 200 relatives of these people as a part of a normalization of relations with Japan. The need for U.S. forces in the region is also being debated at a high level, with many arguing that if push came to shove, the Pentagon would not fight China over Korea and Japan. Also, given the fact the U.S. military-industrial complex has basically proposed marriage with China, the Japanese government has forged military agreements with Russia and India to make sure Japan does not become some sort of dowry gift to the Chinese. Needless to say, of course, all the countries in Asia support peaceful coexistence, and governments, including those of China and Japan, have agreed not to allow outside forces, i.e. Zionists, provoke war in the region. This tectonic shift coming from Asia is also affecting the old power centers like Washington, D.C. and certain European countries. That brings us to the recent rash of corporate propaganda media attacks on the military-industrial complex and their spokespuppet Obama. The so-called revelations that the NSA has been spying on all Americans and Europeans are very old news suddenly rehashed. All emails, phone calls, financial records etc. have been monitored around the world since at least the 1990s. The reason the Zionist propaganda media have suddenly taken interest is because the agencies doing the eavesdropping are no longer working for them or their masters. That brings us to the Bilderberg meeting that took place last week in England at the same time Obama was meeting Xi in California. The simultaneous timing of these meetings was no coincidence. Obama met Xi in California because Xi refused to go to the chaotic cesspool that is Washington, D.C. according to Chinese and U.S. government sources. There was also the very real concern Xi would have been poisoned had he gone to Washington. The Chinese view is that even though Obama is a puppet, he currently represents the government of the US, and thus protocol meant he should be the face of Chinese US government-to-government negotiations. The official Chinese and US government pronouncements about the meeting were that the two governments would forge peaceful, equal relations and work towards a better-run planet. The Chinese also understand Obama might soon be stepping down as part of the ongoing regime change in the US. Obama is supposed to be making some big confessions to the American people on July 4th, according to a CIA source. His reputation in the history books will depend on whether he finally tells the truth about his past and the non-democratic process that put him in the presidency. In any case, Old World Order power brokers gathering at Bilderberg last week were clearly in a panic over the developments in the US and Asia. The clearest sign that something has changed concerning the Old World Order is the massive publicity given to the Bilderberg meeting in the propaganda press. Cabal news outlets like AP, Reuters, the BBC etc. were all there. Suddenly, instead of denying there was even a meeting going on, these propaganda outlets started saying that the most powerful people in the world were gathering there. There was also unprecedented publicity given to controlled opposition forces like Alex Jones and David Icke. Jones, for example, was widely promoted in Zionist outlets like the Drudge Report, BBC etc. in what appeared to be an orchestrated campaign. Jones is linked to the Zionist liquor smuggling Bronfman gangster family. http://abundanthope.net/ I do not agree with the anti-Jewish slant of the above article, but I will say that my grandmother, who personally knew members of the previous generation of the Bronfman family, thought of them as gangsters. They made their fortune by smuggling Canadian booze to Al Capone. David Icke, for his part, has been linked to the Rockefeller crime family. http://www.paranoiamagazine.com http://www.youtube.com What both these controlled opposition figures have in common is that they take true conspiracy information, like the fact that central banks are privately owned monopolies, and then, in a bait-and-switch maneuver, ultimately put the blame on aliens without providing any credible evidence for this claim. What can be proven with overwhelming evidence is that many of the families behind the privately owned central banks support eugenics, population reduction and war. They have further been decisively linked to the 9/11 and 3/11 mass murder terror attacks. They have also utterly failed to end poverty, stop environmental destruction and develop latent human potential. Tomorrow is 6/11 and they better not try anything stupid. They must bow out.